In order to establish a powerful empire to assist him in exploring extraordinary paths, Zhong Ming decided to start with enslaving this country as the first step. "Your Majesty, how are you going to enslave us?" the trembling girl asked. "You will have to work a full 8 hours every day in the future. We only offer 3 meals and snacks a day. And milk is only available in the morning, and there is only 1 hour for lunch break. Only 3 bonuses per year and only 2 months of annual leave." Zhong Ming laughed proudly and said, "The cruelest thing is that you only get a salary increase every 4 months. Overtime can only earn 3 times the salary. Compulsory fitness for 1 hour after work. There is only 1 day of psychological counseling per week. Ha ha ha, be afraid, foolish commoners of Liaozhai world/magic world/***world. Your Majesty, this way, there are nobles/bureaucrats hiding their work. Your Majesty, this way, I know there's a small path here. Angry dragon slayer/prince/saint/alchemist/warrior. We will not yield to evil. We must overthrow your evil rule and welcome freedom and equality. The people of the world will never be slaves." "Papa," the people who threw down their sticks said, "Pooh, villain, don't stop the glory of your Majesty from shining on us humble commoners. Please enslave us severely, your Majesty." Zhong Ming. Keywords of the novel. Exploring extraordinary without pop-ups, exploring extraordinary. Download the complete collection of TXT, Exploring Extraordinary. Read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Opera Troupe Quiet Singing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 2. Buying Life Money. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Buying Life Money. Brother Zhong, why are you carrying a pig-killing knife? The city hasn't been peaceful lately. I heard that bandits have infiltrated, and many people have died in the homes of Song Yuanwei and Zhang Yuanwei. Why bring a bag of medicinal herbs and prescriptions? The city is not in the countryside. With this package of medicinal herbs and prescriptions, we have been caught by night watchmen or captains. If we pay a filial piety of more than 10 copper coins, we can get rid of 30 lashes. Oh, I just came to Sisui City not long ago. I used to be from Zhangjia village. Is Kingading Zhangjia village? Zhong Ming took out a brown leather wallet from his pocket, looked at the Jiangbei leather factory logo on it, and touched it with nostalgia. He opened the zipper and took out the silver dollar with the red crown silver dollar printed on the front, handing it to Zhang Xiaowu, saying, "Take it, I can't let you go back and forth and paste some silver money for the filial night patrol officer, can I? If we can't find you, I'll thank you for the hard work of carrying medicinal herbs for me." The coinage technology of the Dian dynasty was indeed much higher than that of previous feudal dynasties, and the coinage specifications were roughly as follows. By adding 70% copper and 30% lead tin alloy, these were resistant, durable, and bright. Small copper corners and large copper coins can be cast. 70% of silver and 30% of alloys such as tin, iron, and nickel create this bright and crisp red crown silver dollar. 70% of gold plus 30% of alloys such as nickel, silver, and tin. It is possible to cast a shining and long-lasting red crown gold element with low echoes. The weight of coins is much heavier than that of ancient blue star coins, and 30% of the fire consumption is returned to the public, which not only eliminates the audacious idea of minting private coins among the people, but also makes the advanced coinage technology willing to be used by the people. The official price of money is 10 silver dollars for 1 gold dollar, 100 copper dollars for 1 silver dollar, and 10 copper dimes for 1 copper dollar. Each person can exchange limited amounts of money at the royal bank in the county seat with his registered residence every day. From the perspective of the black market in Sisui City, the price of gold is slightly higher and can reach up to 1 gold dollar worth 12 silver dollars, but the silver and copper prices are roughly the same as those of the official Dian dynasty. Such a stable exchange rate may be attributed to the abundant mineral resources in Dian, which far exceed those in Longhua before crossing the border. Zhang Xiaowu didn't want to take on the hard work of collecting $2 for this trip, but he thought that by the end of the year, if he couldn't gather the filial piety silver of the river god-goddess, his own sister might not want to be the maid of the river god-goddess anymore. So he declined and swallowed the silver dollar, thankfully saying, "Thank you, brother Zhong. There's not much to thank, it's all you deserve. This damn weather makes you cross most of the Sisui city to deliver messages, not too much. What the class leader gave is what he gave, what I gave is what I gave, just accept it with peace of mind. I'm asking you, how have the guests been responding to the new drama from the theater troupe recently? Brother Zhong, Nia Xiaoqian, and Painted Skin are very popular. And the new song you wrote for the music department, even the county magistrate couldn't stop praising it. After a performance, you can receive several hundred silver dollars in silver rewards, and with the share of ticket money, I'm afraid you can earn thousands of silver dollars. Our whole village can't grow such a harvest in a year." Zhang Xiaowu brought up the new drama of the theater troupe, his face lit up with excitement. Although there were too many rehearsals for the new drama, he couldn't get more pay and instead did more work. However, he looked very proud. How many pancakes did she have to eat from the troupe leader to have this motivation? Along the way, I chatted with Zhang Xiaowu about the miscellaneous matters in the theater. From a side view, these ancient theater fans had seen enough of the talented scholars, beauties, nobles, and generals on stage. Looking at their new dramas about mountain spirits, ghosts, and foxes for a change of taste, they also received a good response. Quickly walking half the way, passing through the prosperous Xing'an Square, and then crossing the southwest corner of the closed Dongping city, is the famous Qingping Theater. "Xiao Wu, how long have we been on this road? Is Nyoma Market that long?" Renshi and Nyoma markets are separated by the inevitable path that one often goes through to publish Spring Palace vernacular books. This journey has taken at least 17 or 8 times, and it shouldn't have been so long. Moreover, the Yinhe tea house on the edge of Nyoma Market seems to have seen them many times. Did you encounter ghosts hitting the wall? After the closure, the popularity was thin, and the streets were not as illuminated by streetlights as in their past lives. Only a few dim lights from tea houses, inns, and brothels scattered from the flagpoles in front of the shops. The bright red and fluttering lights matched the howling north wind, making it a great place to shoot ghost films. "No, shouldn't I, brother Zhong? I'm timid, don't scare me." Zhang Xiaowu looked around and shuddered, unable to help but approached Zhong Ming closer. Zhong Ming frowned and took out a silver dollar from his wallet. He wrote "shit" on the ground and waved at Zhang Xiaowu, "Let's go, follow me closely." After a moment, Zhong Ming stared at the character "shit" on the ground with an ugly expression and said, "I'm afraid we've really encountered something. Brother Zhong, what should we do?" Zhang Xiaowu was obviously not a foolish person either. His face turned earthy and his legs trembled involuntarily. I haven't married a wife yet, and I don't want to die. Are you still a boy?" Zhong Ming stared at Zhang Xiaowu and asked. I, Zhang Xiaowu's face blended with a hint of shyness in fear. "I'm engaged." "Shit. Are you only 14 or 15 years old? You deserve to be so short. It seems that we can only do it ourselves. Turn around. Ah. Turn around. Oh. Hua 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 hua." Zhong Ming comfortably lifted his pants. "Try walking again, follow me closely." Zhong Ming strode quickly, his pig-killing knife clenched a little more in his hand. "Brother Zhong, wait for me." Zhang Xiaowu hurriedly followed and shouted with a hint of crying. In a moment, the two finally stopped seeing the plaque of Yinhe Inn. "As soon as I saw it, I was about to run out of the area of Nyoma Market. After passing Nyoma Market and then Renshi Market, I saw Qingping Theater. However, a pile of shiny objects appeared on the stone road in front of me. With Zhong Ming's eyes, it looked like a stack of gold coins, at least dozens of gold coins, even shimmering with tempting luster under the sparse moonlight. First, ghosts hit the wall, and then they come to sell their lives for money. If I had read fewer novels in my past life, it would have been your fault. Let's go, hurry up, don't take this stack of money. This money is deadly. Zhong Ming shouted at Zhang Xiaowu without looking back, and quickened his pace by 3 points. Upon hearing Zhong Ming's words, Zhang Xiaowu was also quick-witted and used all his strength to run forward, but his gaze still involuntarily glanced at the stack of gold coins. Oh my God, how much should this be? A good irrigated land on 1 acre is only 14 or 15 silver dollars. Is this stack of money enough to buy dozens of acres for oneself? With this money, one's own family can move out of the haunted Zhangjia village and into the city. There is no need to worry about the girl being summoned by Wang Pe to worship the river god anymore, and there is no need. As he galloped all the way, he could vaguely hear the babbling singing of the theater. Zhong Ming couldn't help but take a deep breath. Feeling that Zhang Xiaowu seemed to be a bit behind, Zhong Ming, who was slowly slowing down, didn't turn back. He waited in place for the footsteps to come closer, and when he caught a glimpse of his bulging chest, he knew that he must have picked up those gold coins. It was hard to persuade the damn ghost with good words. Brother Zhong, why are you running so fast, making it easy for others to run for a while? Zhang Xiaowu's voice was a bit sharp. Brother Zhong, they have found a lot of gold coins. Those who see them will have a share. Zhong Ming too didn't turn back, looked straight at the path of the theater, closed his eyes, and suddenly ran forward with all his might. The voice has changed, even without the golden finger. I know you're not right. Being a ghost is not professional, and you deserve not meeting the performance standards. Of course, the small help of the true I also made the right judgment for him. Name: Zhang Xiaowu, /Xing Xiuxiu, race: human, /ghost, life: 15/65.1.1.1, strength: 0.7, +7, physical fitness: 0.8, +8, agility: 1.0, +10, spirit: 0.8, +4, talent. None/phantom, visual and auditory illusion effects slightly increase, fear aura, to intimidate and suppress mental goals that are not higher than oneself, causing a slight decrease in their strength, physical agility, and agility, skills. Farming, proficient, carpentry, beginner, curtain making, proficient, /embroidery, mastery, pig slaying knife technique, mastery, enchantment, mastery, possession, beginner. This person, oh no, this ghost is not suitable for defeating enemies. 36 strategies to leave are the best strategy. In just a few breaths, Zhang Xiaowu's lifespan limit fell by 3 years, and if he wanted to hold on for a while, he couldn't bear it anymore. Hua Q, I haven't heard any news about gods, ghosts, or ghosts in the past 3 months. The latest bizarre thing in the city is still a script I wrote myself. I've been walking a lot at night and met ghosts. Zhong Ming, who had just taken 2 steps, quickly felt like he had hit something. It was obvious that he was Zhang Xiaowu, which was more than twice his agility. It seems that he has no ability to run this monster now. Anger arises from the gallbladder, evil arises from the heart. Zhong Ming suddenly opened his tightly closed eyes and slashed diagonally towards the spot where he had hit something. This knife came quickly and fiercely, carrying all the remaining courage of Zhong Ming, and fiercely slashed towards him. Humph! This knife was supposed to strike Zhang Xiaowu with certainty, but after cutting into something, it turned into a fat pig screaming loudly. At this moment, Zhong Ming's butcher knife, which had killed pigs and dogs for over 1,000 times, was firmly stuck on the pig's back. Brother Zhong, what are you doing? Isn't it good to take money honestly? Isn't it good to take money? Isn't it good? Listening to the sharp and eerie words in his ear, Zhong Ming really wanted to loudly refute. It's not good, it's good for you to #at, to vent his fear by scolding. But a hand emitting a cold and piercing chill had already draped over his shoulder, as if an infinite chill had been transmitted from this hand to his body. Normally, chi and blood churned, and the strong physique of lifting livestock with one hand also became erratic, feeling that the connection between oneself and the body had become much weaker. A stack of shimmering gold coins appeared in front of me, and my waist involuntarily bent down. My hands reached towards the pile of coins in a mysterious and eerie sound of, "Isn't it okay?" I was about to pick them up. As the fat pig that was chopped down not far away took its last breath, the crystal in Zhong Ming's mind completely turned golden. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Escape to the Fantasy World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Escape to the Fantasy World. The golden crystal emitted a strange light in Zhong Ming's mind, and in a dim blue light flashed by, the world lost Zhong Ming's trace. Only Zhang Xiaowu, who was roaring in place, and the singing voice of the nearby Qingping Theater swayed in the quiet night. In the northernmost county of Bastar in the province of Antou, there was a mill owner named Mr. Miller, who had a very beautiful daughter. She has a beautiful appearance and a graceful demeanor. As his daughter Shauna grew up, Mr. Miller, the father, began to think to himself, "My daughter is so beautiful that she even deserves a true aristocrat. If there is someone who can satisfy me and marry her, I will marry her to him, so that she also has a good home." Today is a sunny day, and a suitor has arrived at the Miller family. This suitor has a burly and strong figure, and looks very wealthy. He is wearing a brand new woolen sweater with black sleeves embroidered with gold edges, and he is also wearing several emerald green gemstone rings in his hands. His behavior is also very appropriate. He claimed to be a wandering knight from the further north duchy of Estonia, falling in love at first sight with the beautiful Miss Shauna and proposing with a heavy gift. The mill owner couldn't find anything unsatisfactory about him. Although the suitor had an unsightly scar on his eyebrows and was slightly older, the temptation of money and knighthood made him ignore the insignificant flaws in the suitor's body, and he immediately agreed to marry his daughter to him. "Shauna, Shauna, come and meet your fiancé, eh? He is such a good person, and you will become a noble lady from now on. Damn it, where has my lovely daughter gone?" Mr. Miller complained discontentedly to Mrs. Miller. Mrs. Miller baked muffins to entertain the guests while responding to her husband, "Darling, have you forgotten? Our baby went to the farm in the west of the city to buy wool. She wants to knit a warm woolen sweater for her parents and set off early in the morning. She should be on her way back now at the same time, on the main road back to the city." "Oh, the gods are up." Aunt Monty stopped for a moment. "There's someone lying on the road ahead," a 14-year-old girl exclaimed, pointing to a green figure on the roadside. The female coachman, dressed in brown linen, tightened her collar and pulled back the reins of the slow horse. The carriage slowly stopped by the roadside. Aunt Monty put on the handbrake, jumped out of the carriage's front compartment, and came to the side of the fallen passerby. She tested the passerby's neck and heartbeat with her hands and said, "Blessed by the gods, he is still alive and should be a frozen traveler. This is naturally the protagonist. We have been picked up again." Half an hour later, Zhong Ming huddled in the pile of wool in the back seat of the carriage, trembling and trying to communicate with the two ladies who had saved him through gestures. After much effort, he didn't know if he had understood a few words. Zhong Ming has made a preliminary judgment on the effect of his golden finger. After personally killing a life form, the blue crystal can accumulate some special energy. When it is full, he can choose to activate his own talent or travel through time and space. And just now, when facing the life-buying trick, I accidentally chopped down a pig to save enough energy. The crystal also gave back an instinctive message to remind me whether to activate my talent or choose to travel through time and space. Under a strong desire to escape, the subconscious activated a shuttle through time and space, penetrating into this medieval Western world. And it should be that the stronger the killed life form, the more special energy it obtains. When I first traveled to the Dian dynasty, I should have already enjoyed a talent activation benefit, which is also the reason why I have talent abilities. Being able to escape from the natural world is a good thing, but language seems to have become an obstacle to survival in a different world. We can't just casually find people from another world to solve language problems, can we? I haven't been decisive enough to kill yet. Zhong Ming glanced at his two benefactors, the young girl with light wheat skin, clear blue eyes, three-dimensional and dynamic European features, and the elderly, slightly hunched but quite robust female coachman. Name: Shauna Miller. Race: human, black iron, life. 15/64. Status: healthy strength. 0.9. The average adult male of this world's human race is 1.5, physical fitness. 1.1. The average adult male of this world's human race is 1.5, agility. 1.2. The average adult male of this world's human race is 1.5, spirit. 0.6. The average adult male of this world's human race is 0.5, talent. Lightness, light-footed, good at hiding, slightly reducing presence, born as a thief and assassin seed, skills. Textile, proficient, wheat grinding, proficient, cooking, proficient, name: Monty. Race: human, black iron, life. 31/55. Status: healthy strength. 1.2 physical fitness. 1.3 agility. 1.0 spirit. 0.4 talent. Skills. Strangely, it seems that the human race column in this world has an additional suffix of black iron species than itself. Is there still a division of bronze species, silver species, and gold species? Is it useful? Zhong Ming was lost in thought, drinking warm water from his skin bag, and soon arrived at the miller's house. "Dear father, have we ever had guests at home?" Shauna asked as she looked at the disheveled cups and exquisite gifts on the table. "Yes, my dear baby, I have found a distinguished fiancé for you. He is not very old and a wandering knight who lost his wife. You'll marry into a noble wife, and you'll like this amazing little guy named Karpas." The miller saw Zhong Ming in a blue robe, whose appearance was vastly different from that of his native people. He frowned and asked, "Shauna, is this your friend?" "Father, this should be a foreign traveler. On the way back, I saw him lying on the roadside, probably frozen stiff in the recent blizzard, so I invited him to stay at our house temporarily." Shauna hugged the old miller's arm and kept shaking, saying, "As for the fiancé you found me, you promised me not to force me to get married. I will see that person with my own eyes before making a decision." This move was obviously very effective for the old miller, who had only been shaken for a while before quickly surrendering and promising not to force his daughter to marry Capes, provided that her daughter had to meet with Capes another day before making a decision. And Zhong Ming saw the old man and the young girl talking to him repeatedly, obviously talking about himself. He cleverly took out the wallet of the Jiangbei leather factory from his pocket, took out 3 silver coins of the red crown silver dollar, and gestured that this was his accommodation expenses. From the silver jewelry gifts on Mr. Miller's dining table, it seems that silver is also a precious metal currency in this exotic world. Staying overnight should be enough, and I'm not sure if I understand the gestures. In short, Mr. Miller, the miller, managed to accept it with some pushing and shoving. The next day, Zhong Ming struggled to get up from the rundown small bed in the miller's house. Although the monster that bought his life yesterday did not cause direct physical damage to him, the erosion of yin qi and the spiritual damage of the enchanted soul were obviously not something that can be cured in a short period of time. At breakfast, there was another round of giggling gestures and gestures. The productivity of this world is still slightly higher than that of medieval Europe, or it may be because the miller's family is wealthier than ordinary free people, and the food is surprisingly good. The muffins and barley bread are not as bad as expected. Oh my goodness, the damn broth, mixed with some unknown seasoning, sweet and sour, and some pork smell. Watching Mr. and Miss Miller drinking the broth made by Mrs. Miller with a smile on their faces, they even signaled to drink more. Zhong Ming, who had mixed his food and clothing, smoothed his thoughts. Obviously, the primary obstacle to survival in a different world is language issues, and the quickest way to acquire a different world language is naturally to use innate abilities to kill and plunder other people's skills. The skills obtained through killing and plundering come with a certain level of language and cultural knowledge, and certain skill types also come with a certain amount of muscle memory, which undoubtedly helps one quickly learn the language of this world. Then it's time to gather intelligence. If I could gather more information during the Dian dynasty and know in advance that it was a strange and extraordinary world, I wouldn't have been so embarrassed by the life-buying ghost. At least I wouldn't wander around late at night looking for death. A fall into a ditch makes you wiser. I need to understand the general situation of this world as much as possible, and if it is an extraordinary world, then try to gain strength as much as possible. Recalling the feeling of powerlessness in his life and death being controlled by monsters, Zhong Ming's desire for power at this moment was beyond measure. We also need to accumulate the golden energy gravel of the crystal as much as possible, and we can rely on traveling through time and space to save our lives in case of danger. Moreover, the talent for crystal activation is indeed very attractive, and you can try activating it yourself. There are also issues with residence and identity, so we can't just stay at Mr. Miller's house, can we? I still have some gold and silver coins on me, but I can't sit idly by and have a way to make a living. After calculating their own path ahead, Zhong Ming and Mr. Miller made a gesture of greeting, tightened their tight-fitting clothes, and stepped step by step into the white snow. Ant City is a typical castle-style layout city in the Duchy of Ig. The castle that was originally developed by the lords was an inherent urban center, surrounded by churches, administrative halls, city courts, and rich commercial areas. Mr. Miller's family can be considered living on the edge of the core commercial area and also on the innermost level of the residential area. However prosperous and glamorous a city may be, it cannot be without slums, which can be considered a must-that have in ancient and modern Chinese and foreign cities. Even if it is called *** district, or urban village, there is not much difference in essence. Poverty and suffering are the main themes here, and chaos and evil are commonplace in daily life. The impoverished areas on the western edge of Anti-City were the target of Zhong Ming's trip. This is also what Zhong Ming analyzed based on information such as buildings, road conditions, and pedestrian flow. The poorer the area, the more chaotic it is destined to be. Suppressing the indescribable stench in the air, even after a night of wind and snow, Zhong Ming couldn't conceal the nauseating smell in the slums. He raised his foot and pretended to kick, driving away the seventh wave of beggars or part-time thieves. Zhong Ming then knew that his fishing law enforcement was very successful, to the point where it was too successful. Zhong Ming, who was getting more and more deviated, decided to close the net earlier, otherwise it might be a big project, whether it's destroying the body or destroying it. Hurry up, Nit, I wish I could kiss your butt hard with my boots. You idiot, if that fat sheep from another country runs away, see how I'll deal with you. A short and chubby bald thief was cursing and urging his companions. He saw the fat sheep with black hair and eyes disappear from the alley, and the bald thief's figure almost increased by 3 points. Where are people? Damn it, where are people? The bald thief looked at the empty corner and became increasingly irritable, muttering curses loudly. At this moment, Zhong Ming, who had already circled around the side wall behind them, clearly had no desire to appear as a saint in front of anyone. Of course, it was more likely because he couldn't understand what these two thieves were saying, so he decided to let them sleep peacefully forever. Whoosh whoosh, with 2 piercing sounds, 2 copper corner coins, a specialty of the Dian dynasty, carrying more than 10 times the strength of an ordinary adult man like Zhong Ming, fiercely penetrated the bodies of the 2 thieves and shot into the nearby wall. The bald thief covered the bloodstain on his neck and whimpered, wanting to say something. His companion collapsed directly to the ground, and the small wound on his chest, under the pressure difference, gave rise to a slight and high degree of blood flow. Ah, I threw it off the side. I was clearly aiming at my neck, I shouldn't have. Zhong Ming scratched his head helplessly as he looked at the gushing blood column in the thin and tall thief's chest. Based on Zhong Ming's current physical attributes, it is not appropriate for such a thing to happen. However, the gravity and atmospheric pressure in this medieval world are very different from those of the Dafeng dynasty. It is obvious that under higher gravity, the average physical attributes of people in this world are much higher than those of the Dafeng dynasty, but the average spiritual attributes are inexplicably lower than those of the Dafeng dynasty. The huge differences in the world's environment obviously cannot bring survival difficulties to Zhong Ming, who has far beyond human attributes, but the momentary sensory impact is still inevitable. Using the blood pool of these two foolish thieves to create a mirror, Zhong Ming used his talent to check his own state. Name: Zhong Ming. Race: Human life. 17/86 Status: Qi erosion, invasion of alien energy, temporary decrease of about 20% in all attributes, strength. 10.688, 13.36, physical fitness. 7.88, 9.85, agility. 3.64, 4.55, spirit. 2.77, 3.46, talent. True vision, killing and plundering, thick skin, brute force, geographic recognition, innate strong sense of geographic space, with inherent advantages in recognizing maps and finding directions, skills. Theft, proficient in 1146/2500, dagger proficiency, proficient in 477/500, a memory of theft and the use of daggers appeared in Zhong Ming's consciousness. Zhong Ming felt as if he had transformed into the bald thief, experiencing all the memories of this thief's involvement in these two skills from entering the profession to more than 20 years of career. These memories are naturally mixed with some language knowledge from the Duchy of Ig, so it is not a problem to handle daily communication. As for written knowledge, it can only be said that literacy has always been quite luxurious. Many small nobles in the Duchy of Ig are illiterate, let alone these two thieves. According to legend, the feeling of vomiting and guilt when killing someone. When he first killed the scholar who wanted to die, he had already vomited what he should have vomited. Now, Zhong Ming has no feeling at all. It may be because he killed too many livestock at Zhengtu's meat shop, which made him numb, or because he was naturally indifferent. Who knows? The current question is how to destroy the body and exterminate it. Zhong Ming used his own personal experience to verify that the essential tool for going out, corpse transforming water, which can turn a person into pus in just over 10 minutes, does not exist. At least he has not even heard of it during his 3 months in the Dafeng dynasty. Although it is unlikely that security officers will specifically investigate and cause trouble for themselves in order to kill a few thieves in the slums, as a prominent outsider, it is better for oneself to learn the skill of destroying corpses and traces. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Lightbox. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Lightbox. In early winter, the county of Bistar is quite cold, and the finances of Heersburg have been average in recent years. The muddy dirt roads have clearly not been maintained for a long time, and as one of the main roads in Anti-City, there are also few people left just after the snowy night. On the road, a capable soldier carrying a large bundle and wearing a military knife around his waist is walking. He just finished the war and now he has to rush home. The soldier carrying a large bag has a face that is not red or panting, demonstrating good physical fitness. The evenly spaced footprints on the snow ground bear witness to his excellent soldier. On the way, he met an old lady. The old lady had a gloomy aura all over her body, her thin body hunched under a black robe, and a pointed hood covering half of her old face. Her long hooked nose made people worry about piercing something, and she wore an untimely blue plaid apron around her chest. The classic witch image in the promotion of the Sea God Church. The old witch stopped the soldier and said hoarsely, "Hello, soldier. Your sword is really good, your backpack is really big, and you can tell at a glance that you are an amazing soldier. The old witch's praise for not hitting the smiling person can be said to have scratched the soldier's itch. He couldn't help but look up and straighten his chest. He loosened his grip on the military knife and proudly said, "Of course, I am a veteran who has participated in several wars. I almost earned myself a title, almost." The old witch Jia smiled strangely and said, "Amazing. Amazing. A soldier as powerful as you deserves a better future. So I am willing to give you a lot of money. Now you can have as much money as you want. How could there be such a good thing?" The soldier sneered disdainfully, not believing that such a good thing would happen. He said casually, "But I still want to thank you, old witch. Of course, you need to do me a small favor first before you can reap a large fortune." The old witch's hoarse voice seemed to have an unusual temptation. The soldier's hand, holding the military knife, involuntarily tightened again. "Have you seen that big tree?" The witch pointed to a tree next to them and said, "This is a hollow tree. If you climb up to its top, you will see a hole. There is a great treasure hidden in the hole that is enough to buy the entire IG duchy. You can climb into the tree through the hole and reach the bottom. I'll tie a rope around your waist so that when you call me, I can pull you up under the temptation of money." The soldier lifted his feet and leaned towards the trunk of the tree. He quickly climbed up the tree and looked into the hole. Under the sunlight, he could even see ants moving things at the bottom of the hole. Before the soldiers could angrily denounce the old witch spoke first. "Of course you can't see anything from this way of looking. This treasure has been sealed. Only by opening the seal can you see its true face and enter to retrieve the treasure. If there is no seal, can it still be your and my turn to retrieve the treasure? You better not lie to me. Otherwise, be careful, I'll make you look good." The soldier rolled over and slid down the tree, slapped his sword on his waist, and stared fiercely at the old witch, threatening. The old witch sneered and said, "I never deceive anyone. Okay, let's just assume what you're saying is true. Come on, how can I help you open the seal?" the soldier asked. The old witch chuckled and said, "Just a simple little ritual is needed." Ritual? The soldier frowned. Thanks to the promotion of the Sea God Church in the Duchy of IG over the years, the reputation of the wizarding profession is not particularly good. Especially in church propaganda stories, the image of witches is notorious and makes him quite wary. The soldier hesitated for a moment, but in the end, his greed overcame reason. He said in a deep voice, "You better not play any tricks, my steel knife is not a vegetarian." "Of course not." The old witch Jia smiled strangely and said meaningfully, "I never deceive anyone. What's the use of this so-called ceremony? Do I need to pay anything?" the soldier asked in a series of questions. Under the temptation of money, the only remaining reason told him that if this old witch wanted something like her hair and blood, it was best to turn around and leave. The old witch's murky eyes flashed with a gleam of determination, patiently answering the soldier's questions one by one. "This ceremony is certainly meant to allow you to pass through the seal of the treasure, while also avoiding being attacked by something inside the treasure. As for what to pay, you don't have much to give. If you insist on giving something, then give your courage to fight on the battlefield and explore this treasure." "Something? You better explain it clearly. Although you don't know what you really want to do, you can't achieve your goal even if I die, right?" The soldier's face turned a bit ugly. Jia. Would you believe such a thing if there were no protective measures in a treasure? How could there be anything in the world that only benefits without risks? The old witch asked in response. "As long as you follow my instructions, I guarantee you will safely bring a large amount of wealth home." The soldier thought to himself that there shouldn't have been such a good thing as pie falling from the sky, and he wanted to sacrifice his life for that pitiful military salary for the aristocratic elders for so long. If taking a risk can earn a lot of money, then this deal is also worth it. But he still stubbornly said, "How do I know what kind of harmful thing you witches have in your minds? At least I keep my word." The old witch looked at the soldier seriously and said, "If you don't want to get rich, then you can leave now." The soldier's failure to turn around just now indicates his greed for wealth. How could he leave? So he just touched his nose, chuckled, and then stopped talking. The old witch saw him stop speaking, so she took off her dirty and smelly blue plaid apron and took out some messy things from somewhere, including dried lizards, frogs, snakes, scorpions, and some unknown animal organs, as well as a wooden staff carved with a fierce dog. The old witch carefully took blood from frogs and snakes, drew an inverted hexagram on the ground, and mixed the frog's tongue, snake gallbladder, scorpion's tail, and dried lizard powder into a small glass bottle filled with green liquid. She picked up a long goose feather pen, dipped it in a strange green potion, and drew strange runes in the inverted hexagram. As the old witch finished writing the last word, the pattern on the ground flickered with a green light. The old witch placed a purple crystal clear stone in the center of the inverted six-pointed star, and then said to the soldier, "You stand there. You better not play tricks." The soldier threatened the old witch and obediently followed her words to the center of the magic formation. As soon as the soldier stood up, the old witch raised her dog-headed wand and began muttering spells. The soldier tilted his ear, wanting to hear what the old witch was saying, but the witch seemed to be singing a play, constantly reciting rhythmic spells in her mouth. The more he listened, the more dazed the soldier became. An invisible wave spread around the old witch's wooden staff, and as the last syllable was pronounced, a faint green light flashed over the soldier's body. "All right, you can go and withdraw the money now," the witch said wearily as she took off her apron. "Later, you will enter the treasure trove through a tree hole, and there is a bright corridor. Passing through the corridor, you will see 3 doors with keys in the lock." The soldier regained his senses and looked into the tree hole again. The shallow tree hole had turned into a deep tunnel, with a faint light seeping through the tree body and being spotted by the soldier and the old witch. The old witch took out a black linen rope from somewhere and continued to speak slowly. "After opening the first door, you will see a big box with a dog sitting on it. Its eyes are as big as a bowl. But don't worry about it. I will give you my blue plaid apron, you lay it on the ground, and then quickly pick up the dog and place it on my apron. Then you can open the box, which is full of copper coins. You can take as many copper coins as you want. If you want silver coins, open the second door. There was also a dog sitting there, its eyes as big as wheels. You can put it on my apron and then take out the silver coins. If you want coins, open the third door. However, the dog sitting on the money box has eyes as big as Estonia's round tower. But you don't have to be afraid, just put it on my apron and it won't hurt you. Take as many coins as you want." "That sounds great," the soldier stroked his beard and said, "So how should we divide the accounts, old witch? I think I deserve 70% of the treasure." "No," the old witch said, "I don't want any copper coins. I just need you to take out the old lightbox from the third room for me. It's a relic of my ancestors, and I'm satisfied with just this lightbox." "Okay. Please tie the rope around my waist," the soldier said impatiently. "Okay," the old witch tied the hemp rope around the soldier's waist and said dejectedly, "Take my blue plaid apron." The soldier took the apron, climbed up the tree quickly, and quickly slipped down the hole. Not far away, Zhong Ming, who had just finished dealing with the bodies of 2 foolish thieves, looked at this seemingly familiar scene with a strange expression. His extraordinary physical fitness allowed him to hear the conversation between the 2 sides in a location that was not noticed by witches and soldiers from a distance. Isn't this the plot of The Firebox? Is it still a fairy tale world? If you still don't understand what's going on, then Zhong Ming's childhood can be considered as feeding husky. Zhong Ming remembered the magic of the 3 giant dogs in The Firebox and the countless gold, silver, and copper coins in the 3 treasure troves. "I declare that the treacherous soldiers have a way to die, and the firebox is a treasure that I am destined for." When I heard this story as a child, I marveled at the magic of the lightbox, but when I grew up and looked at it again, I felt that this soldier was simply a villain. Scumbags. The old witch kept her promise and gave him wealth whenever she said she wanted to, and there was no indication in fairy tales that the old witch would turn back or harm him. But this soldier, in order to know the secret of the lightbox, could without hesitation cut off the head of the old witch. Later, for the sake of so-called admiration, he used a lightbox to summon a big dog to rob the princess. It's not hard to imagine what happened after robbing the princess, right? The incident of taking away the princess was ultimately exposed, and the soldier summoned a big dog on the battlefield to bite and kill the king and queen, becoming the king himself. The ending is that the soldier lived happily with the princess, probably the soldier's own happiness, right? Can the princess really live happily with an enemy who destroys her reputation, kills her parents, and takes away her country? In this fairy tale, the soldier is also portrayed as a kind person, saying that after he became wealthy, he even gave a lot of money to the poor. He had already realized how terrifying it was not to have a copper plate. Not to mention at all, how did he get this money? It was obtained by breaking faith and cutting off the head of an old witch who gave him wealth. Not to mention at all, what kind of behavior was he in plundering the princess? Not to mention at all, what kind of behavior does it belong to him to kill the king and queen before forcibly marrying the princess? The double standard of the West started from fairy tales. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Dishonest Soldiers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Dishonest soldiers. Of course, no matter how dark Western fairy tales may have been in their past lives, or how much they were, it has little to do with the current Zhong Ming. Zhong Ming now only wants to play a game of seeking wealth and danger. He needs knowledge and skills such as lightboxes, treasures, and old witches. Name: Adviacesis brevini race. Human, bronze species, life. 121/301.146, extraordinary profession. Intermediate wizard apprentice status. Exhausted, excessively squeezing the body to draw magic, temporarily reducing all attributes by about 40%, failed blood vessel transplantation, a failed experiment significantly reduced lifespan, permanently reducing all attributes by 30%. Strength. 3.7, 12.4, physical fitness. 4.8, 15.8, agility. 3.2, 10.7, spirit. 4.2, 13.8, magic. 24, 19-20 talent. Accurate measurement, with a high level of confidence in measurement and balance, a multifunctional measuring instrument for walking, language master, with a great talent for language learning, able to easily master new languages and texts, skills. Assyrian, proficient, Hebrew, proficient, Puran, proficient, Babylonian, proficient, extraordinary pharmacy, beginner, extraordinary formation law, proficient, snake shadow dark thoughts, proficient, wizarding hands, proficient, magic techniques, proficient, fireball, proficient, windblade, proficient, beast taming, proficient, vertigo, proficient, resistance to fire rings, proficient, invisibility, beginner, summoning statue ghosts, proficient, summoning ogres, proficient, and random summoning, proficient, name. Weisscandia race. Human, black iron, life. 30 of 144 extraordinary profession. Intermediate apprentice knight status. Healthy, no changes in all attributes, strength. 6.8 physical fitness. 7.9 agility. 6.7 spirit. 1.2 magic. 0 out of 0 talent. Strong and robust, naturally robust body, slightly increased physical fitness, slightly increased wound healing speed and cold and heat resistance, skills. IG Universal Night Breathing Technique, proficient, IG Universal Knife Technique, proficient, IG Universal Axe and Spear Technique, proficient, IG Universal Shield Technique, proficient, Infantry Array, proficient, Blacksmith, proficient, the attributes of the old witch Advia can be considered the most luxurious existence she has ever seen. Even if her state is slightly normal, she and the soldier Wes are not tied together enough for her to fight with one hand. If you want to make up for her last blow, you still need to think carefully. Moreover, the talent of the true eye of sight is quite interesting. Previously, I was invaded by Yin Qi and had an additional attribute column for status. After encountering the witch and this veteran, I also added 2 additional attributes: extraordinary profession and magic. The attributes that can be viewed can also be updated synchronously, which is truly a divine skill of Shenyong. The most peculiar thing is that viewing one's own attributes allows one to see one more decimal place after the decimal point than others, which really gives one a better understanding of oneself. Zhong Ming patiently slowed down his breathing, shrank his body, making his body more concealed and completely hiding behind a rock in the distance. He silently withdrew his gaze, because he heard that people with strong spirits could feel the gaze, and he tried to let his thoughts go as much as possible, because movies and literature in previous lives often had murderous settings, and he didn't know if the old witch could feel it. Be careful. After about an hour, Soldier Wes, who was almost unable to walk and had his pockets, pants, backpack, and boots filled with gold coins, returned to the tree and shouted loudly, "Hey, pull me up, old witch. Did you get the lightbox?" Advia asked urgently. "Oh my." Wes scratched his head and said, "I forgot about it." So he impatiently and laboriously walked back to the 3rd room and retrieved the lightbox. However, putting it down is easy, but getting up is difficult. The gold coins that Wes carried made him almost double in weight. The old witch Advia struggled to pull the rope, putting in a lot of effort, and even had to use up the last bit of magic that had just recovered to use the wizard's hand, finally dragging Wes out of the tree hole. As soon as Wes walked out of the cave, he quickly untied the rope on his body and slowly climbed down from the tree, landing in front of Advia. Ding ding, the pleasant sound of coins colliding kept coming from Weiss's body. At this moment, the soldier's pockets, pants, backpacks, leather boots, and hats are all filled with gold coins. The originally sturdy and straight figure looks bloated in a big circle, but the soldier is laughing uncontrollably. Anyone who suddenly has so much money would be extremely happy. Moreover, Wes had always been just a poor little soldier before. Advia had no intention of sharing the joy of the soldiers, she only needed to light a lightbox. Since the failure of the last blood transplant experiment, her vitality has been greatly damaged, and her body and magic recovery speed have not been as fast as before. Her once youthful and beautiful body has become old and corrupt. Who can bear aging and death? If she cannot go any further, the shadow of death will completely envelop her, and she must use the power of the lightbox to obtain more resources and hope for further progress. So she rushed forward to the soldier eagerly, grabbed his shoulders, and said, "Where is the lightbox? Give me the lightbox." Advia's expression calmed down the excited Weston. No one who can survive on the battlefield is really stupid. Weiss couldn't help but think that despite countless treasures of gold and silver, the old witch didn't want anything. She only needed a worn-out lightbox, but the old witch was so eager. There must be an incredible secret in it. At least it's a secret that's even more valuable than my own body full of gold coins. For a moment, the fire of greed in Weiss's heart ignited again. He effortlessly pushed the old witch Advia away, then gently patted his shoulder that was caught by the old witch, straightened his collar, and slowly said to Advia, "What's the use of this lightbox?" Advia's magic has been depleted, and she even overdrawn her body and mind to accelerate the absorption of attribute energy to form magic, leaving her almost defenseless. She couldn't even release a resistance fire ring, and when pushed by Wes, she couldn't stop retreating. She took several steps back before standing still, barely falling to the ground. A sense of shame rose in Advia's heart, a mere mortal who dared to treat her like this, to break his promise with her. She glared at Soldier Wes and said angrily, "What does this have to do with you? You have received the wealth I promised you. I have fulfilled what I promised you, and you should also fulfill your promise. Is this what your church preaches about virtues? Isn't it better for me to be an evil witch? Give me the lightbox. Hurry up. Advia shouted out the last sentence with almost a roar. She was very anxious, and the plan was executed smoothly. When it was time to reap the harvest, what happened? If it weren't for the depletion of her magic now, she would have had 100 ways to kill this treacherous villain. What a mistake. It shouldn't be so careless. Advia felt remorseful in her heart. She shouldn't have saved this magic potion. The last blood transplant experiment almost depleted all of her extraordinary resources, to the extent that even a bottle of healing magic potion was precious to her. But the soldier was there, with a hint of sharpness flashing in his eyes. His tone was fierce and he said, "Stop talking nonsense. What's the use of it? Tell me immediately, or else my knife will cut off your head. You damn slut. You despicable dishonest person. I shouldn't believe you." Advia was furious, she didn't expect this West to be this kind of person. Hurry up. Otherwise, even if I have patience, my sword doesn't have patience. Soldier West drew out his own sword. The cold light on the long sword is Zhong, while the bright and clean blade emits a strong smell of blood. Without a doubt, it is a good knife that can drink fresh blood. If you give me the lightbox, I'll tell you. The old witch Advia was still making her final effort, trying to trick Wes into getting the lightbox and insisting that this despicable little life be better than death. But Soldier Wes didn't say a word and directly slashed at him with a sharp knife. Advia felt the cold wind on her face and her whole body was shivering. It was too late to squeeze her body to absorb free attribute energy to cast spells. She wanted to dodge her slow and aging body but told her it was too late. The inevitable death seems destined to befall this careless wizard apprentice. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Hosting Justice and Fighting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 7. Dafengshou, Salad of Assorted Fresh Vegetables. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Dafengshou, Salad of Assorted Fresh Vegetables. Name: Zhong Ming. Race: Human life. 17/86. Extraordinary professions. Knight, to be promoted; wizard, to be promoted; status: Qi erosion, invasion of alien energy, temporary decrease of about 20% in all attributes, strength. 10.80, 13.51, physical fitness. 8.03, 10.04, agility. 3.75, 4.69, spirit. 2.86, 3.58, magic. 0 out of 0 talent. True eye of sight, killing and plundering, thick skin, fierce, geographic recognition, accurate measurement, language master skills, IG universal night breathing technique, proficient in 1112/2500, IG universal knife technique, proficient in 1746/2500, IG universal axe and spear technique, proficient in 388/500, blacksmith technique, proficient in 146/500, Assyrian language, proficient in 1425/2500, Persian language, proficient in 1677/2500, ancient Colombian language, proficient in 1244/2500, extraordinary pharmacy, beginner 88 out of 100, snake shadow dark thoughts, proficient in 1556/2500, wizardry's hand, proficient in 244 out of 500, fireball technique, proficient in 233 out of 500, wind blade technique, proficient in 146/500, animal taming technique, proficient in 226 out of 500, vertigo technique, proficient 246/500, invisibility technique, beginner 89 out of 100, summoning statue ghost, proficient 1826/2500, this wave is really a Dafengshou, salad of assorted fresh vegetables. After a while in a trance, Zhong Ming, who has received the transformation of skills and talents, feels comfortable. His extraordinary chivalric breathing method, his swordsmanship, axe and spear skills, the most commonly used Assyrian language and mysterious Cuban Lombian language in the northern part of the mainland, all the problems of language and writing have been solved, as well as his extraordinary pharmacy and sorcerer meditation ideas, some pieces of extraordinary knowledge related to skills, and 7 magic models. Although I haven't built a magic source in the spiritual world and can't use magic temporarily, I have a sense of familiarity with these 7 spell models that can be easily constructed. Zhong Ming groped around the soldier for a moment, then groped through the clothes covered in gold coins that the soldier had taken off on the ground for a while before finally finding a slightly outdated metal lightbox. Upon closer inspection, the unknown black metal shell of the lightbox is embossed with a powerful and ferocious dog head on both sides. On one side, the relief depicts the dog head swallowing the sun, and on the other side, the relief depicts the dog head devouring the moon. Opening the box, there are 2 slender rectangular purple stones inside. According to the extraordinary knowledge received in Advia's mind, these should be the solid crystals of ether. Magic crystals. Zhong Ming played with the lightbox for a moment, then picked up a rectangular magic crystal and rubbed it against the frosted blue metal layer on the side of the lightbox. Sparks appeared from the lightbox. A fierce dog with big eyes and a bull mouth suddenly appeared in front of Zhong Ming. According to the blue star units of his past life, his height was at least 4 meters, and his body was over 5 meters long. His brown hair looked very intimidating under the sunlight. "My master, do you have any instructions?" Like the voice of a 7 or 8-year-old child, spoken from the mouth of this fierce dog, it tells the story of Cuban Colombian language. Zhong Ming, who was stunned, did not respond to himself. The brown fierce dog repeated its previous words, but this time in Assyrian. "My master, do you have any orders? Can you help me dig 2 pits here? They should be about 3 dimensions in length and width, and about 2 dimensions in depth." Zhong Ming casually pointed to a flat area not far away and an open space in front of him. "Yes, my master." The common unit of length for the northern and western parts of the mainland, converted to the metric unit of blue star, is approximately 1 mara is almost equal to 2.5 centimeters, 1 boolean equals 12 mara is almost equal to 0.3 meters, 1 vit equals 3 boolean is almost equal to 0.9 meters, 1 vein equals 1600 vet is almost equal to 1.5 kilometers. "Oh, thank you for Advia's gift, otherwise I wouldn't even be able to explain the unit of length, so I need to make a better tomb for her. As for Wes, bury him as you please. Even if Mr. Zhong can keep him from being thrown into the wilderness, he is kind-hearted." Zhong Ming tried to wipe the firebox twice in a row, and a dog with eyes as big as a wheel appeared. If measured by blue star, its height is at least 389 meters, and its body length is close to 50 meters. Its silver-white body shines brightly on the snow, which should barely qualify for a guest appearance as a monster in a disaster film. "My master, do you have any instructions?" Like the voice of a young man aged 14 or 15, it spoke from the mouth of this silver giant dog, and it was also spoken in Cuban Colombian. "Can you help me cut down that tree?" Zhong Ming pointed to a tall tree not far away, which was 7 or 8 meters high and over half a meter wide, with a trembling sound. Once again, thank you to Advia for her proficiency in the Cuban Colombian language. "Of course, my master, it's very simple." The silver giant dog appeared next to the tree with a swoosh, its sharp claws surpassing those of the refined steel, lightly swiping towards the root of the tree, and the tree fell in response to the sound. Zhong Ming wiped 3 times in a row, and a huge dog with eyes as big as a round tower appeared. Because a single, giant, pang, or big, cannot describe this dog, Zhong Ming can only praise this dog so much in his heart. According to the metric system of previous lives, when looking up, it should be close to 100 meters tall, with a body length of over 100 meters. The gray hair of the giant dog is quite vigorous, and the hair on its forehead even droops in front of its huge eyes. Before crossing over, Zhong Ming had never seen many skyscrapers taller than it. If he appeared in the Yuangu theater of Xiaori, his physique and prestige would be enough to beat the salted egg giant at the bottom of the level, right? My master, do you have any instructions? Like the voice of an adult in his 20s and 30s, spoken from the mouth of this gray giant dog, it still tells the story in Cuban Colombian. %UN hashtag, there was a chattering conversation in Cuban Colombian, as the gray giant beast swung its indestructible claws and cut the fallen tree into several thick wooden boards. It carefully picked up the boards, as if holding a small toothpick, and delivered them to Zhong Ming. At this moment, the brown fierce dog and the silver giant dog also returned to Zhong Ming, with 3 giant beasts lined up in a row, with a considerable deterrent power. Zhong Ming named them Hertha, Amir, and Besto in ascending order of their body size, all of which mean giant in the Cuban language. Name: Hertha race. Warcraft. Void Hound, Silver, Lifetime. 364/3422 Extraordinary Professions. Status: Healthy Power. 198 Physical Fitness. 201 Agility. 221 Spirit. 69 Magic. 10920/10920 Talent. Void Walking, allows for space shuttle through unknown mysterious latitudes, ignoring most defense methods. Soul Pursuit, the ultimate sense of smell seems to be able to smell the scent of the soul, and the extremely keen sense of smell can distinguish any odor within 300 miles, iron teeth and steel teeth, terrifying sharp teeth that are sharper than precision steel and can easily crush the vast majority of metals. Fear Claw, an invincible horror claw that can rival the magical metal in some science fiction works. Intermediate physical resistance, good physical resistance, even heavy thermal weapons can completely ignore it. Intermediate magic resistance, good spell resistance, general spells are almost completely immune, and stronger spell damage can also reduce most of the damage. Skills: Hunting, refined and refined, tracking, refined and magical impact, superb. Name: Amir race. Warcraft. Void Hound, Silver, Life. 573/3821 Extraordinary Occupation. None Status. Healthy Strength. 387 Physical Fitness. 394 Agility. 375 Spirit. 121 Magic. 23920/23920 Talent. Void Walking, Soul Pursuit, the ultimate sense of smell seems to be able to smell the scent of the soul, and the extremely keen sense of smell can distinguish any odor within 500 miles, iron teeth, fear claws, intermediate physical resistance, intermediate magic resistance. Skills: Hunting, refined, tracking, enchanted, and magical impact, enchanted. Name: Bestow race. Warcraft. Void Hound, Silver, Life. 1572/5211 Extraordinary Occupation. None Status. Healthy Power. 801 Physical Fitness. 822 Agility. 744 Spirit. 191 Magic. 55260/55260 Talent. Void Walk, Soul Pursuit, the ultimate sense of smell seems to be able to smell the scent of the soul, and the extremely keen sense of smell can distinguish any odor within 800 miles, iron teeth and steel teeth. Fear Claw, advanced physical resistance, strong physical resistance, frontal hard resistance. Tactical missiles can only receive slight damage. Intermediate magic resistance. Skills: Hunting, supernatural, tracking, supernatural, and magical impact, supernatural. Zhong Ming used Wes's military knife to sharpen several wooden wedges, banging on them in a state of chaos, unleashing his rare artistic talent and barely making a decent coffin. He put Advia in the coffin and buried it in one of the graves dug by Hertha. He also added a wooden tombstone in Cuban Colombian with the words, "The Tomb of Advia Cecil Bravini," which can be considered as a wholehearted effort to bury him. As for Wes, just burying him in the pit would be considered a kindness from Mr. Zhong, and the coffin and tombstone wouldn't even be worth considering. As a reward for his kindness, Zhong Ming felt that it was reasonable for him to take some of the deceased's external belongings. Apart from clothing, Zhong Ming didn't leave anything for these two people. He roughly harvested over 91,000 good quality gold coins, with a quality of about 80.9% gold, about 5.6 G per coin. It's hard to say that Wes had put in a lot of effort to obtain so many gold coins, which weighed over 500 kilograms. The true eye of vision is calculated as 1 unit of strength based on the average strength of adult men in the Dian dynasty. Adult men in the Dian dynasty are much stronger than the modern weak chickens of Blue Star, and may also be influenced by unknown environmental factors. The average level can be said to be the level of Blue Star's athletes. It's true that with the power of Wes 6.8, he can win so many gold coins. With all his energy, Advia was able to pull Wes up with the gold coins. Even if there was a factor of Wes climbing up himself, he probably had to cast a spell to pull him out. There is also a crystal necklace harvested from Advia, which is likely a legendary space equipment. Otherwise, where did she get all these materials from? A blue plaid apron that appears to have the ability to soothe warcraft. An exceptionally strong rope. A good quality military knife, but it was buried out of the desire to reduce trouble. This battle can be considered a true pursuit of wealth and fortune, solving the vast majority of Zhong Ming's difficulties in surviving in a different world. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Visualization and Meditation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Visualization and Meditation. What is the relationship between spirit and matter? Which is the origin of consciousness and matter? If Zhong Ming were still on the Blue Star, he would talk to you about the truth of materialism, but now in the continent of Zorg, he probably has no confidence to insist on materialism. The sentient beings on this continent called Zorg believe that the world is not purely material, or that matter and spirit belong to the mysterious high-energy particle. Ether. It is the source of all things, and it is the primordial material that gives rise to all life and death phenomena in the world. It has also evolved into high-energy particles with different attributes, such as water, fire, soil, wind, light, darkness, ice, thunder, nature, which are invisible and intangible but actually exist throughout the material world. The so-called natural attribute high-energy particle Zhong Ming feels like the wood attribute has been renamed, but strangely, it doesn't seem to have the gold attribute. These high-energy particles are similar to the elements in Blue Star literature and film works, but there is no term for elements in this world. They all directly refer to fire attribute energy, water attribute energy, and asterisk attribute energy. Wizards believe that the space they reside in is not lonely, and there is a higher dimension and more mysterious spiritual world beyond the tangible and directly perceptible material realm. When wizards communicate with the spiritual realm, they can absorb high-energy particles with certain spiritual attributes, promoting the growth of their own spiritual power. This method of communication and absorption of spiritual particles in the spiritual realm is much faster than the method of maximizing the expansion of the body's biological energy and increasing the spiritual limit after consuming one's own spiritual power. So the wizard's meditation method was born, and meditation is a way to communicate with the spiritual realm and form magic. Meditation includes two parts: visualization and meditation, which correspond to the needs of communicating with the spiritual realm and forming magic, respectively. Witches primarily rely on visualizing powerful entities or natural phenomena, supplemented by magic potions, guiding gestures, and even geographical and weather conditions, to enable their spiritual power to communicate with the spiritual realm and absorb spiritual particles to strengthen their spiritual power. The essence of magic is the special energy with spiritual imprints formed by the spiritual power of wizards themselves and high-energy particles in the material world. Witches use high-energy particles in the material world through meditation. The difference between meditation and visualization is that visualization is, he imagines, and imagines things other than me, and meditation is, I think, imagining one's own image. The steps are roughly as follows. First, imagine yourself, then perceive high-energy particles with different properties in the material world. Imagine your own image being linked and absorbed by these high-energy particles. Secondly, when these high-energy particles are absorbed into the body, they also need to be imprinted with their own spiritual imprint. Finally, by fusing the high-energy particles imprinted with their own spiritual power in a specific proportion, different magical effects can be formed. After the magic is formed, it is stored in the sea of consciousness of the wizards. What is the essence of spirit? Is the sea of spirit and consciousness in the brain or in an unknown higher dimension? At present, there is no wizard who can provide a systematic and accurate answer. In the process of forming magic, high-energy particles and magic will have a certain feedback reinforcement on the wizard's physique. But the main focus is still on the brain and mind, and the strength of strengthening the body is limited, far less than the strengthening of breathing on the body. The methods for imprinting high-energy particles with mental energy vary among various schools, with the more widely circulated being collision method, acupuncture method, induction method, and so on. And due to the different types of high-energy particles absorbed and the different proportions of mixing with one's own spiritual power, the magic formed by different dark thoughts also has different spells that they excel at. For example, it is not impossible for magic that absorbs a large proportion of water energy to cast fire spells. It can still be released under the guidance of the spell model. After all attribute energy is a manifestation of ether evolution. But doing so will consume a lot more magic and release it much slower. If a fire-type spell is cast using magic that absorbs a large proportion of fire attribute energy, the magic consumption will be greatly reduced, and the release speed will be greatly accelerated due to the reduction of conversion steps. What is magic? At the end of the day, it's just a way to utilize the power of magic. Directly throwing magic balls at waves can also be considered a spell, but its efficiency is relatively low. What is a spell model? It is an efficient way to utilize magic. Wizards use runes as nodes, magic as a medium, and spiritual power as a circuit to construct magical models in the sea of consciousness. Then use magic as the energy link to build a spell model, and then use mental power to lock the target of the spell, and you can successfully release the spell. The spell models of wizard apprentices can only be temporarily constructed and cannot fully utilize the effects of the spell models calling upon the energy of the material world. Spelling requires chanting to assist the spell models in calling upon the energy of the material world, and a small number of apprentice-level spells also require casting materials to serve as disposable items to assist the spell models in mobilizing the energy of the material world. So apprentice-level spells are also jokingly referred to as spells. Different runes and circuits can produce different spell models with different effects. Based on the spell model, various spells with different effects can be released, and spells are also known as witchcraft by many people. So what is rune? Runes are said to be a manifestation of the rules of this magical world. The existing runes come from various divine spells, magic cores of Warcraft, naturally formed wonders, and natural landscapes such as energy tides. Witches have discovered runes by observing these phenomena in depth. Witcher apprentices need to condense magic and high-energy particles into runes and store them in the sea of consciousness. When the condensed runes reach a certain type and quantity, and the magic accumulates enough, they can melt the runes into a wizard's source of magic in the sea of consciousness. Wizards with a source of magic can be called regular wizards. The source of magic can automatically trigger high-energy particles in the material world to combine with one's own spiritual power without the need for active meditation by wizards, automatically pry and absorb spiritual particles that communicate with the spiritual world, and greatly improve the quality and storage limit of magic. Due to different constitutions, the affinity of various elements towards wizards is completely different. Some elements are extremely friendly to a certain person, but some elements are extremely repulsive to that person. This leads to this person being unable to condense certain runes due to the lack of high-energy particles with certain attributes. This is known as energy attribute affinity, which is also an important criterion for judging the qualifications of wizards. Before starting a wizard apprentice, there is usually a mentor who uses spells or tools to measure the affinity of various attributes. Of course, Zhong Ming obviously cannot enjoy this treatment. And spiritual power represents the speed at which various high-energy particles are attracted and absorbed, so innate spiritual power is also an important criterion for judging the qualifications of wizards. As for physical strength, it can only be considered the least important factor, and cannot be said to be unimportant. After all, a strong physique is like a wider water pipe, which can simultaneously accommodate more attribute energy into the wizard's body. The general apprentice level meditation method is divided by the number and quality of runes formed by their combination of magical sources. 96.256 runes belong to low-level meditation ideas, 256.480 runes belong to the intermediate level of the dark mind, 480.726 runes belong to advanced meditation. Advia had never even heard of more than 726 higher-level meditation methods in her memory. The snake shadow meditation technique is an intermediate meditation technique that records the form of 362 runes and the method of combining them to form a source of magic. The remaining techniques are specific to practicing the snake shadow meditation technique, including the method of cultivating spiritual power through visualization, unique visualization images, methods of perceiving and imprinting high-energy particles, types of high-energy particles required to fuse magic, the ratio of high-energy particles to spiritual power, the formula of the cold snake breath, visualization potion, and a series of gestures and taboo points. According to the introduction of Snake Shadow Meditation, the stage of wizard apprenticeship can be divided into three categories. Junior wizard apprentices belong to the early stage of meditation and are in the stage of condensing spiritual power. Mastering and condensing 12 runes is considered entering this level. These 12 runes are purely formed by spiritual power, reflecting the spiritual rules in the world, without the need to combine with high-energy particles in the material world. Generally, only by reaching this stage can spiritual power reach the strength to perceive and activate various high-energy particles present in the material world. Intermediate wizard apprentices can try to combine spiritual power and high-energy particles to form magic with different effects, but the magic is shallow and not high in intensity. They can use limited spells to cast some low-level spells, which are often less powerful, time-consuming, and high in magic cost. Mastering and condensing 40.8 runes is considered entering this level. Advanced wizard apprentices, also known as the reserves of formal wizards, can use a greater number of witches and have greater power. When magic accumulates enough and runes accumulate enough, they can challenge the level of formal wizards. Mastering and condensing 96 runes is considered entering this level. Because the most useless source of magic also requires at least 96 runes to try smelting combinations. Once you reach the stage of becoming a formal wizard, it's another world. There is not much information in Advia's memory, just the effect of the magic source, the incantation-free instant casting, and the constant spell model can show the leapfrog enhancement compared to the apprenticeship stage. As the saying goes, things should not be delayed. Zhong Ming, full of anticipation for extraordinary power, attempted his first meditation in a luxurious hotel room. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Beginner Wizards. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Beginner Wizards. Zhong Ming racked his brain to recall the runes recorded in the Snake Shadow Meditation technique, and then sat cross-legged on the luxurious king bed of the best hotel in Anti-City. The bed was covered in brand new bedding, and the room was lit with precious incense. Zhong Ming closed his eyes tightly and posed according to the gestures recorded in his meditation. In fact, when a wizard meditates, he does not require cross-legged meditation like in movies, TV shows, and literary works, but Zhong Ming feels that these actions are more ceremonial, which is why he does so. Of course, being afraid of falling asleep while lying down too comfortably is also a part of the reason. Zhong Ming imagined himself transforming into a three-headed snake, surrounded by endless darkness. In the darkness, only his own eyes emitted a faint light, and this faint gaze seemed to have spirituality, stirring various high-energy particles with attributes into his sea of consciousness. Mastery-level meditation and extraordinary spiritual power made Zhong Ming quickly perceive the existence of an opposing parallel, illusory and real existence deep in the material world. Zhong Ming knew that this was the spiritual world. But when he tried to communicate with this spiritual realm, he felt a sense of rejection coming from this world. Why do you reject me? Is it not using auxiliary visual aids? It shouldn't be, doesn't it mean it's not a necessity? Strong spiritual power can communicate with the spiritual realm without the need for auxiliary drugs. At this moment, Zhong Ming sensed that the blue diamond-shaped crystals floating in the sea of consciousness had quickly disappeared due to the golden stripes accumulated by him as he killed several people in this magical world. He no longer felt a sense of exclusion from the spiritual realm, but rather a sense of smoothness in the successful verification of his pass. A continuous stream of spiritual particles began to merge into his sea of consciousness, and his spiritual power began to slowly improve. As his imagination deepened, Zhong Ming's spiritual perception seemed to have been applied to the extreme, feeling a rare cold energy wandering through his body, constantly conflicting and disappearing with his own blood. He tried to use his spiritual power to guide and expel this energy. After a moment, Zhong Ming let out a cold breath. The cold breath exhaled from his nose and mouth at the same time made the room temperature seem to have dropped slightly, but he knew the state of yin qi erosion and finally solved it. The body has an indescribable sense of pleasure and relief, as if taking off a heavy package. After an unknown amount of time, a strong sense of hunger interrupted Zhong Ming's contemplation. Because the waiter was instructed not to disturb, no one came to inquire if delivery was necessary. After a hasty feast, Zhong Ming glanced at his attributes at the smooth silver plate. Name: Zhong Ming. Race: human life. 17/86 Extraordinary professions. Knight, to be promoted; wizard, to be promoted; status: healthy power. 13.62 Physical fitness. 10.13 Agility. 4.80 Spirit. 4.12 Magic. 0 out of 0 Talent. Skills. As expected, the erosion state of yin qi has disappeared, and all attributes have been slightly improved. If you synthesize magic, the improvement should be even greater. Thinking of this, Zhong Ming quickly returned to the room and began to try to form magic. It seems that after being recognized by the spiritual realm, the material realm also developed a sense of recognition towards Zhong Ming. If Zhong Ming used to be an illegal immigrant, now he feels like a wealthy legal immigrant. Zhong Ming vaguely felt that the third function of the blue crystal was probably to use the energy or soul energy that had dissipated after killing someone in a certain world to create a new, legal immigration certificate, through the blue crystal. Of course, this requires some additional gold energy consumption. The legal immigration certificate allows Zhong Ming to inherit things such as the world affinity or energy affinity of the victim, in addition to being no longer excluded by the world. For example, the speed at which one forms magic after using the snake shadow meditation technique is almost identical to the speed at which one forms magic in Advya's memory, which can only be explained by the energy affinity that one has just gained from her. The visualization attempt is over, the meditation begins: runes, magic, spells, I'm here. Zhong Ming slowly outlined the runes in the sea of consciousness, following the appearance of the runes in his memory. Each rune was outlined in the sea of consciousness, emitting a mysterious and sparkling light. The statement, "Eyes are the windows of the soul," may really make sense, and Zhong Ming's eyes also emitted a deep purple glow with the successful outline of the rune. 1, 2, 3, 4. 12. The 12 spiritual runes easily condensed, and Zhong Ming skillfully stepped into the realm of elementary wizard apprentices. Zhong Ming felt a tremble in his spirit, and an indescribable sense of comfort spread throughout his body from his brain. He felt his consciousness becoming increasingly clear and transparent. The speed at which high-energy particles with various properties from the surrounding area rush into Zhong Ming's body and synthesize magic has also increased by a few points. Of course, repulsive high-energy particles cannot enter the body at the same time unless they are tired of living. So there must be a certain order to induce these high-energy particles to enter the body. Zhong Ming continues to combine various high-energy particles and magic according to the requirements of single and multiple attributes of runes, and integrates them into the runes. Guided by spiritual power, he gradually outlines those wonderful runes. Pure wind attribute type runes representing wind flow patterns, pure wind attribute type runes representing air deposition, pure fire attribute type runes representing heat conduction, pure fire attribute type runes representing combustion patterns, pure ice attribute type runes representing material morphology changes under extreme cold conditions, pure light attribute runes representing line of sight changes, composite attribute runes representing temperature changes, composite attribute runes representing gravity, composite attribute runes representing sound wave conduction patterns. The laws of every world are expressed by one or more runes, and each attribute embodies various complex laws. The seemingly endless runes tell the rules and manifestations of this world, some of which are recorded by wizards through long years and bloody experiments, forming various dark thoughts. The runes recorded in the snake shadow meditation technique, in addition to the 12 spiritual attribute runes, are mainly composed of wind, fire, and darkness, with only a small number of other attributes included. The casting method of the recorded magic source is mostly based on the 3 attribute runes of wind, fire, and darkness. The combination, connection, and arrangement of these 3 runes are the most common, and other attributes cannot be said to be lacking, but can only be said to be insignificant. Every time a new rune is outlined, the difficulty of Zhong Ming's meditation increases significantly, as it requires a fixed share of spiritual power to maintain the already formed rune. When the 35th rune was outlined, Zhong Ming was sweating profusely. Zhong Ming controlled a magical force as heavy as 1,000 weights, and meticulously outlined the 35th rune in the sea of consciousness, stroke by stroke. Tips, horizontal grooves, long horizontal grooves, flat pressing, horizontal folding grooves. Every stroke and stroke required all of Zhong Ming's mental strength, to the point where his body began to involuntarily tremble. Finally, Zhong Ming controlled the magic to outline the final stroke. The 35th rune takes shape. Name: Zhong Ming. Race: human life. 17/166 Extraordinary professions. Junior Wizard Apprentice, Knight, to be promoted, status. Healthy strength. 14.10 Physical fitness. 11.43 Agility. 5.52 Spirit. 6.52 Magic. 876/876 Talent. Skills. The effect of initial meditation is extraordinary, with almost doubling of mental growth and a slight increase in physical fitness. Of course, it may also be a feedback from the initial large-scale formation of runes, and there may not be such a significant increase in the following. According to the proportion of added attributes, as a despicable outsider, without bloodline-level outsiders, my attributes should be higher than those of the same level extraordinary profession, the Black Iron Bloodline, and should belong to the level of bronze bloodline floor tiles. At least this is currently the case for the wizard profession. It seems that the upright ape evolved from this ape, or the mud seed, pinched by the goddess Nuwa, is not that bad, at least stronger than the black iron species, is it? End of this chapter. Chapter 10. The Legend of Bloodline. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. The Legend of Bloodline. What is bloodline? Where does the blood come from? Perhaps the most fanatical bloodline school of wizards cannot provide an accurate answer. The historical records of bloodlines in this magical world are very vague, with only some seemingly plausible myths passed down. I don't know how much credibility there is. Legend has it that the creator god Zoya felt bored with the loneliness of endless years and used his divine power to create the golden age of life. He used his own blood to irrigate the tree of Kabbalah and thus gave birth to the original deity. Many races of the golden age lived like gods, with a long lifespan, carefree all day long, without heavy labor, distress, and poverty. The earth provided them with various fruits, and on the lush grassland, herds of cattle and sheep engaged in labor peacefully. They also do not age, maintain their youthful strength, and do not suffer from illness, enjoying grand banquets and happiness throughout their lives. When they felt the impending death, they sank into a peaceful slumber. When the races of the Golden Age died, they became the Holy Spirit serving the gods, coming and going in the clouds. They were the messengers of the gods, presiding over notarization and righteousness, representing the gods in punishing all evil. However, many races of the Golden Age perished in a beautiful and peaceful life. Legend has it that due to the extreme difficulty of reproduction, the number of races in the Golden Age decreased, to the point of almost extinction. Wizards are deeply skeptical of this explanation. At this time, the great creation god Zoya had already left, and among the gods he created, the second-generation god King Sok appeared. Under Sok's leadership, the gods also created various creatures using secret silver. The races of the Silver Age were different in appearance and spirit from those of the Golden Age. Although their lifespan was not as long as that of the Golden Age, their fertility improved significantly. They were curious and exceptionally united, and many races formed friendly alliances to explore the mysteries of the world together. Even Wild Warcraft would voluntarily contribute their magic cores to the study of various races in the Silver Age after their decline, and most of the initial runes were discovered during the Silver Age. The power of runes has shortened the gap between the gods and their creations, to the extent that without progress in research, creations have turned their attention to their own creators, hoping to pull the gods onto the experimental platform. The reckless research of many races in the Silver Age ultimately angered the divine King Sok, who was very angry and wanted to eliminate this race from the ground. Because he didn't want to see anyone desecrate the gods, the flood of destruction flooded the entire earth. As a punishment for many races in the Silver Age, the few surviving silver tribes were also driven into the abyss to coexist with demons, occasionally wandering on the ground as demons. The god King Sok, who had experienced failure, led the gods to creatively create the third generation of creatures using bronze, namely the various races of the Bronze Age, and planted the seeds of hatred in the hearts of many bronze races. The races of the Bronze Age were completely different from those of the Silver Age. Their lifespan was greatly reduced, their reproductive ability further improved, and they began to believe in different gods. The resources on the earth gradually became insufficient to meet all races, and many races that were no longer united in the Silver Age began to fight for survival space. They constantly wage wars, but the belligerent Bronze race cannot resist death. After leaving the warm and bright earth, they descended into the gloomy and terrifying underworld. Later, in order to compete for faith, the gods also participated in this unprecedented melee, supporting different races of gods to fight fiercely. Countless primitive gods fell, and new stars took off. The Kabbalah tree, which contains all the mysteries of the world, also disappeared from this divine battle, and the disappearance of the Kabbalah tree, which gave birth to the primitive gods, seemed to have caused the gods to be rejected by the material world and had to return to the stars. The greatly weakened bronze tribes were destroyed by the invasion of the abyss. Even with the help of the gods who cannot directly descend into the material world are still unable to save their followers. After the decline of the Bronze clan, the great flood of extinction reappeared, buried together with the vast majority of abyssal races, leaving only a few abyssal creatures occasionally appearing on the earth. The gods, who enjoyed the beauty of their faith, created many races with cheap black iron, and then disappeared after preaching. In recent years, the miracles exhibited have become increasingly rare. The wizards speculate that the gods may have engaged in another war in the starry sky, or they may have resumed the consumption of the gods' wars and abyssal invasions while sleeping. In short, there is much less news of the gods coming to life. After the weakening of the influence of gods in the material realm, very few races from the Bronze Age, Silver Age, and even the Golden Age, which were preserved through various means, began to slowly reproduce on the earth. The lifespan of the Black Iron race has once again decreased, and their strength and talent are far inferior to those of the Bronze Age races. The unwilling Black Iron race has shown signs of mixing and multiplying with previous races. Some unscrupulous Black Iron races not only mate with races with similar appearances, but also engage in various bizarre flower activities among the Black Iron races. Black Iron humans have developed more production and war tools, unleashing their unique creative racial talents to the fullest, and widely promoting the path of knightly transcendence, ultimately becoming the strongest race on the continent today, occupying the largest living space. Black Iron humans also rank among the top in terms of reproductive ability among the Black Iron race. With a larger population base, it is perfectly reasonable for some geniuses and strong individuals to emerge. This is also one of the important reasons why Black Iron humans can reach the summit. Of course, Black Iron humans also often engage in mixed breeding with previous races, mainly mating with Bronze humans and Silver humans, as their appearance is very similar. Occasionally, there are Black Iron humans who resort to any means or taste, as well as previous races with greatly inferior appearances, playing with flower art. As for the Golden humans, it is rare to see them for thousands of years, let alone reproduce and thrive with the Black Iron humans. Even if one randomly matches a Golden race, it is extremely difficult to achieve. The desire of mainland creatures for higher bloodlines can be understood, after all, according to the knowledge recorded in the ancient books of the Cuban language in Advia's memory. The lifespan of Golden humans is generally 5.8 times longer than that of Silver humans in the same extraordinary professions of the same rank. Even ordinary Golden humans who have not been exposed to extraordinary powers have a lifespan of 5 to 6,000 years. The lifespan of Silver humans is generally 3.5 times that of Bronze humans in the same rank of extraordinary professions, and the lifespan of ordinary Silver humans who have not been exposed to extraordinary beings is also 8 to 900 years. The lifespan of Bronze humans is generally 2.3 times that of Black Iron humans in the same rank of extraordinary professions, and the lifespan of ordinary Bronze humans who have not been exposed to extraordinary beings is also 2 to 300 years. If Black Iron humans do not come into contact with extraordinary powers, they generally do not live until the age of 40 due to various factors such as famine and war. Even if they have no worries about food, clothing, and safety, the highest record is 91 years old. There are significant differences in racial power across different eras. According to the research of Bloodline wizards, under the same extraordinary profession of the same rank, Gold humans must have one or even multiple physical or mental attributes that are 8.16 times higher than Silver humans. Silver humans must have one or even more physical or mental attributes that are 4.8 times higher than Bronze humans. Bronze humans must have one or even more physical or mental attributes that are 2.4 times higher than Black Iron humans. Of course, even among different races of the same era, there are significant differences in lifespan and innate extraordinary talents. However, the general rule is that the stronger the race, the lower its reproductive ability, and the longer its growth cycle. Well, mythological stories are reasonable and logically almost perfect, but there are no rules such as reproductive isolation yet. This magical world is like burning the coffin of evolution like firewood. After the miracles of the gods almost disappeared, the wizard profession that had been suppressed for years gradually gained opportunities to breathe, and the wizard profession that had not developed for a long time also regained the qualification to walk in the sunshine. Many powerful figures in various countries are also interested in the extraordinary profession of wizarding, with the exception of some countries where the power of certain churches is relatively strong and their deities have a significant opinion on wizarding. So the setting of a noble caster is still applicable in most countries, and Zhong Ming doesn't have to worry about being beaten and killed by the whole continent after his identity as a wizard is exposed. However, it is best not to easily expose the wizarding profession in the Duchy of Ig. One of the mainstream churches in the Duchy of Ig, the Sea God Church, still strongly opposes wizarding. End of this chapter.